What's up, everybody? This is Ambro, and today we're going to talk about Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl. Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl is a highly anticipated game from developer GSC Game World. It is being developed on Unreal Engine 5 and is releasing on April 28th, 2022 for the Xbox Series consoles and PC for retail price of $59.99 US, and will also be a part of Game Pass on day one for both PC and console. It is a 3-month timed exclusive to our knowledge and will release on the Epic Game Store as well as PlayStation consoles at some point in time. If you enjoyed the video or find it informative, remember to give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. It would really help out the channel and I would greatly appreciate it. In this video, we're going to go over a brief overview of Stalker as a franchise and how Stalker 2 came to be, as it's had a very troubled history. The game is also one of the first true next, or should I say current generation games, and will be a showcase for Unreal Engine 5, which there's a lot of hubbub going around with that Matrix demo, am I right? There's a lot to talk about, so let's get right to it. Here are 7 things you need to know about Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl. S.t.a.l.k.e.r, or Stalker, is a backronym for Scavengers, Trespassers, Adventurers, Loners, Killers, Explorers, and Robbers. Despite its namesake, Stalker 2 is actually the 4th game in the franchise. The first 3 games all released within 1 year of the game before it. The original Stalker, Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl, released in March 2007 to critical and commercial acclaim. It was a first-person survival horror game and had multiple endings and had an incredibly bleak atmosphere in a good way. The follow-up games being Stalker Clear Sky, released in 2008, and Stalker Call of Pripyat in 2009. I brought these up so that you can see that it's been a long time. It's been 13 years since we've had a Stalker game, and I know a lot of fans have been super anxious about this next entry, especially when you consider that Stalker 2 was originally revealed in 2010. Yeah, it's been over a decade since the game was announced. Now, just because a game was announced a long time ago doesn't necessarily mean it will end up as a bad game. Psychonauts 2 just released after being in development for 16 years, so anything is possible. Anyway, I mentioned in the game's intro that the game's development ran into a few snags along the way, which jeopardized the game as we know it today. During development, numerous layoffs and overall attrition through the development of the game had shrunk GSC Game World's employee count by 75%. 2 years in, the CEO had announced the immediate stopping of all development due to quote-unquote personal reasons, which was likely a result of financial difficulty. GSC Game World was officially dissolved on December 9th, 2011. The official Twitter account posted, quote, "We will do our best to continue. However, at this moment, nothing is certain," end quote. After several months of uncertainty, an update was posted that the development would continue after the holidays, although it would require funding. However, the cancellation of this build of Stalker 2 had been formally announced in April 2012 on the company's Facebook page, officially stated to have resulted from disputes between investors, staff, and the original IP rights owner. After years of dormancy, GSC Game World officially reformed in December 2014 to develop Cossacks 3, which was a real-time strategy game set in the 17th and 18th century European wars. 4 years later, on the game's Facebook page, development of a new Stalker 2 was announced, linking to the game's website. It was later revealed that the game would be developed using Unreal Engine 4. This build of Stalker 2 was announced exceptionally early into development, with it still being in the quote-unquote design doc phase. The CEO Grigorovich later stated on a podcast that the intent of the project's announcement in 2018 was largely to generate hype in order to strike a publishing deal at E3 2018. Frankly, very little information was given regarding the project until this past year at E3 2021, where a full gameplay trailer was shown at the Microsoft Bethesda press conference. The release date was announced, and then in August 2021, the developers revealed the game was updated to being developed on Unreal Engine 5. One more thing. This game is going to take up a lot of space. It's going to take up 180 gigabytes of storage on your Xbox Series consoles and 150 gigabytes on PC. Just a fair warning, because you will more than likely need to make some space on your console or get an expansion card. I'll also put up a picture of the system requirements on PC for your convenience here, or you can go to the Steam page and check it out for yourself. Players will take the role of a stalker named Skiff, an illegal scavenger inhabiting a highly radioactive area outside of Chernobyl known as the Zone. The barren wasteland is home to many mutants and anomalies that threaten the lives of those brave enough to traverse the area. It is up to the Stalker to explore the zone while fighting off the monsters made up from the stuff of nightmares that are standing between them and the luxurious treasures scattered throughout the environment. Stalker 2 takes place in a world where a second explosion took place at Chernobyl in 2006, creating a radiated place called the Zone, where mutated creatures live and that the bounty hunters explore. In case you didn't know, it's actually based on the Russian novel known as Roadside Picnic, and also the film of the same name, Stalker. The Zone of Alienation, or simply called the Zone, is a 60-kilometer wide area of exclusion that was set up around the Chernobyl NPP following the 1986 disaster and extended further by the Chernobyl disaster of 2006. Now, whispers of the game's main narrative seem to focus around something called the Basement. We have no idea what it is yet, but this seems to be the central focus for the protagonist. There may also be a focus on the anomalies themselves and you, the player, figuring out what they are and how they came to be. You apparently will have to play a part in the fate of the Zone itself. Honestly, I think the story is best left at that, for you, the player, to discover, so let's just move on to the next point. For the uninitiated, Stalker 2 is a mix between a first-person shooter, horror game, and immersive sim that gives players tons of options to complete any given scenario. Let me get this out of the way. This game and the style of game is an acquired taste. If you're looking for a game with a forgiving, regenerating health system and gunplay stripped out of the latest Call of Duty, this is not the game for you. However, I do think that Stalker has built up a reputation for being this insanely difficult, super sim-heavy game when it's really not that. Traditionally, in its past, it's just been a game with a very cool setting, an expansive open map to explore, gather resources, and just have fun. If you enjoyed games like Metro 2033, Metro Last Light, and Metro Exodus, those titles were actually created by some developers of the original and have a lot of the same themes. The gunplay is slow and tactical. If you just run and gun like you might in most modern shooters, you will die. You have to take time, manage your ammo, and make each bullet count. The AI has traditionally also always been challenging in the past to the point where if you kill some NPCs, the enemies will then change their routes as a response. Again, this isn't something new or completely groundbreaking, but I always appreciate it when devs take time to flesh out their enemy AI. Speaking of which, the A-Life 2.0 system is supposed to keep combat situations and the environment more varied and lively. I'm going to read off a quote here that describes what the A-Life 2.0 system is. A-Life 2.0, the game itself controls the state of the world and the behavior of characters and the mutants, making the zone ever-changing and truly alive. Countless events and encounters will happen every moment, even if you are not around to witness them with your own eyes. Therefore, it promises that each player will have a unique game experience that will extend to the plot itself. The decisions that you make will not only affect short-term events, but also the world. In layman's term, the game is running advanced simulation of the world and the environment always in the background. Encounters and events happen throughout the world that send quote-unquote ripples throughout the AI, meaning that you do not need to be around for something to happen. You may stumble across an outpost with tons of dead animals or NPCs, or you'll just come across some animals fighting in the wild. Continuing on with some of the gameplay, using Stalker Call of Pripyat as the baseline, you have a health meter, a stamina meter, and obviously due to the setting, there is radiation and radiation poisoning, which can be treated. There is also bleeding, which if not treated will eat away at your HP. There's also hunger that you have to worry about. In the past, it's not been anything crazy, like, for example, in the forest, where if you eat bad meat, it'll just leach your health. In Stalker, it's just an icon, just letting you know you're hungry, and in order to fix it, you go eat like a 2-week-old sausage roll that's been rotting next to a mutated corpse. Fine dining.
Finally, some good fucking food.
If you ignore any of these factors, being hunger, bleeding, or radiation, you're just gonna make the game harder on yourself. Apparently, you'll also have to manage sleep, which, frankly, if I can't do it in real life, what does that mean for my playthrough of Stalker 2? Stalker 2 will take place in an open world larger than Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild at 24 square miles, which is nearly twice as large as Skyrim. Honestly, I don't know why we still compare map sizes at this point. If map size was all that mattered, Assassin's Creed game would be the equivalent of some dude bragging about the size of his truck. Stalker 2 will have a day-night cycle and a dynamic weather system, which definitely adds to the immersion. The expansive open world will have areas of respite and areas of extreme danger. You will have to be conscious of not only mutants, but also anomalies. Anomalies have been showcased in the trailer for good reason. Anomalies are fluctuating energy phenomena, for lack of a better way to describe it, and if you're not careful, they can rip you to shreds in a matter of seconds. Or they may burn you alive, they might electrocute you to death, they might just, explode your internal organs. Anyway, you could see in the trailer the player actually using a device to help detect when an anomaly is nearby. And you see him actually throwing a bolt at it to visually show you where to avoid. This really adds to the looming danger of the environment and that nowhere is safe. There is going to be a new type of anomaly called arch anomalies in the game. We don't have much detail on them yet, but they are supposedly bigger and badder than your standard anomaly. The Stalker series has always been known for having multiple endings, and this entry will be no different. While the game does have a good amount of dialogue and dialogue choices, this is not a game that's super heavy on exposition, at least in its past. There are a lot of memorable conversations to be had with random NPCs that you find out in the world. One of my favorite parts of the past Stalker games is, you're exploring the world and you just come across a campfire of some NPCs just talking about random shit. That, to me, was more immersive and realistic than some long, drawn-out cutscene designed to make me feel like the world is alive. But there's something about the charm of the candid, unscripted stuff you find out in these open-world games. Apparently, the special version of the game will come with additional songs and tales around said campfires. More info on that to come. The outcome of the game's narrative will be heavily affected by player choices. Previous games have had more than 5 or 6 or 7 endings based on choices made, and I expect this entry to be the same. Now, in terms of the game's length, according to the devs, it will take up to hundreds of hours to see and do everything the game has to offer, so for completionists, this is a really good sign. Expect a ton of content. That said, the devs have said that it's literally impossible to see everything on a single playthrough, so also for replayability, this is a good sign. As far as like a straight-through, average playthrough focusing just on the story missions, you could probably expect anywhere from 10 to 20 hours of content, but we'll have to wait for the final code to see that. Freedom and Duty factions are the only known factions that we know of at the moment, but the most recent entry, Call of Pripyat, had up to 10 factions in the game. I would be floored if there were only 2 factions in the game that you can align with, as it's a pretty big part of the game. Altering the zone to align with certain factions is going to be a mechanic, so be aware of that. The military, monolith, and mercs have also been factions in past games, and it would be a welcome sight again to see them here. Post-launch multiplayer mode. This has already been announced as a free update that's coming at some point post-launch. I have nothing else to say here. I have no idea what they're planning. Mod support has also already been announced, and it's great to see. Mods allow games to have an extended lifespan, and it's just a great outlet for creativity, and I can't wait to see what the general public can do with this game. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it or find it informative, give the video a like, and if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. It would really help out the channel, and I would greatly appreciate it. Let me know down in the comments, what are your thoughts on Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl? Are you excited to finally step foot back in the zone? I look forward to talking to you guys. I'll see you next time.